If you ever looked at a DAW and thought, yeah, no, that's way too complicated to learn, I'd rather just pay somebody to record me, well, that studio session you're about to book is gonna cost way more than just that hourly rate. And in this video, I'm gonna break down the 2 hidden taxes that studios charge that you might not be aware of. My name is Tony. I'm a recording, mixing, and mastering engineer. I've built 2 commercial recording studios for myself in LA. I've worked on projects for Atlantic, Warner Music, Universal, and I've watched this pattern play out hundreds of times. Artists who thought booking studio time would speed up their process, but it actually slowed them down. So if you want to avoid falling into that same trap, keep on watching. Now, most artists think they're avoiding the hard part by booking studio sessions, but here's what most artists think. They look at Pro Tools or they look at Logic and they see all the buttons, the plugins, all the routing, and they think, nah, dude, that's just way too complicated. I'll just book somebody who already knows this. And on the surface, that makes sense. I mean, why spend months learning when you could just spend $200, show up, and it just gets done, right? Except here's what actually happens. You didn't avoid that complexity. All you did was trade it for dependency. And dependency has a tax that nobody tells you about up front. You see, you're not just paying that hourly rate. You're paying these 2 hidden costs that compound over time. So here's the first hidden cost that nobody talks about. It's the dependency tax. You book a studio, 2 to 4 hours, you show up, the engineer does their thing, and the session ends. But the song didn't get fully recorded. Maybe you still need to record ad-libs or the second verse or whatever. So you think, cool, I'll just book another studio session maybe next weekend just to finish this up. Except next weekend, you forgot that you were busy. So now it's 2 weekends out. And then that next weekend, your engineer's booked. So now it's 3 weeks. 3 weeks have just passed and you haven't moved anything on that song forward. Meanwhile, there are other artists in your circle, they're dropping, they're building up momentum, and you're still sitting on that same track from 3 weeks ago. Imagine every time you needed to hang something on your wall, you had to call a contractor and you paid them $150 to come out and bring their drill just to hang up a picture. Then they leave. The next month you need to hang up another picture. You're gonna call the contractor again, pay the $150? No, you'd immediately think, why don't I just go buy a drill? It's $50 and then I can hang up as many photos as I want. But somehow when it comes to music, that same logic doesn't apply. I'll just book a session every time I want to record, but I don't need to learn the DAW or buy a microphone for myself. That's us calling the contractor every single time instead of just going and buying the drill. And it doesn't stop there. It's the same thing for mixing too. I mean, here's what revision hell actually looks like. You pay for a mix, takes a week for the engineer to get it back, the vocals are too loud, so it takes another week for the revision, then you get it back and the reverb's too wet and you get the picture, right? It's like texting someone to change the thermostat in your own house, but you live there and it's right down the hall, but you can't adjust the temperature yourself. So that is the dependency tax and it drains the time that you will never get back. Now, the second tax, and this one is super brutal, is the creative tax. Every single session you have to re-explain your vision. You say, hey, I want it to sound like this reference for the reverb, but I really like how the low end sits on this reference. Can we just blend those 2 ideas together? Then the engineer nods, and then they get like 80% there. But that last 20%, that's the gap between what you hear in your head and what they're able to interpret. That's the silent killer because they're not in your head. They don't know how you want it to feel. They're just guessing based on your explanation. And if that guy doesn't get it and you have to book a different engineer, well, now you're having to explain it all over again every single time. And I've watched this for years. Artists spending half the session trying to communicate to me what they want by playing me 5 different conflicting references. I'm left confused, and then we all leave the session unhappy. And that right there is the creative tax. Your vision always filtered through someone else's interpretation. I mean, Tyler, the Creator, figured this out early. He said, I produced 80% of my first album on Fruity Loops. My mom never wanted to give me lessons, so I taught myself how to play piano. He looked at that complicated thing and he didn't run from it. He leaned into it because he knew he wasn't going to wait for someone to give him permission. And he knew that if he knew how to do it himself, he would never be limited by someone else's creative filter. There are 2 types of artists. When you depend on booking studios and engineers, it turns you into an about to artist. The artist who always says, I'm about to drop, or I'm about to do this, and I'm about to do that. But finishing your music depends on booking time, saving budget, and someone else's schedule. And if they're booked, you have to pause. And if life gets in the way, it's just over. And here's what it looks like from the outside. You're known as the artist who's always working on something, but nothing actually happens. And when someone asks, hey, when's your next song dropping? You're forced to say soon. But you've been saying that for the past 6 months. Then there's the active artist, where they own their own process, they have their own gear. So finishing songs becomes normal and you don't have to wait on sessions or anyone's permission. You can release consistently because you control the full path from idea to finished song to release day. And people ask, bro, how are you dropping so much fire all the time? It's crazy. They think you must have some sort of label or management backing you up because only artists with that kind of connections can be doing what you're doing. And when someone comments, bro, this sounds super high quality, you're proud to tell them, yeah, that was all done by me. Both of the paths are valid, but the question is, which artist do you want to be? Are you the type of artist who's willing to go through that initial learning curve to unlock your full potential? Or are you the type of artist who's comfortable saying, yeah, I'm about to all the time? And that's it. That's the only decision you have to make right now, is whether you want to be an about to artist or an active artist. Now look, I'm not saying that studio sessions are bad. I mean, I run studios, I make money from sessions, but I'm telling you what I've watched happen for years. Artists who thought they were choosing the faster path of I'll just pay someone to do this for me is actually what slowed them down. Okay, so those are the two hidden taxes and the true cost of what studios cost you in the long run. If this hit, make sure to subscribe. I break down how to build recording systems that independent artists can use so they can stop stalling their progress and own their entire process from start to finish. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I will see you guys in the next one.